Since we missed so much time in class due to the snow, I'm going to make some instructional videos that you can listen to and watch to learn some of the material that we need to cover between now and the end of the semester. And I'm going to start off with a description and explanation of the present perfect tense. Present perfect tense is formed with the verb have plus the past participle. The past participle is not the same as the past tense. You'll find an appendix in the back of your book, and the past participle is the third form. The first form is the base form, and the second form is the simple past, and then the third form is the past participle. So present perfect is formed with have or has if it's the third person singular, and the past participle. So I'm going to use a simple card to show you what I'm talking about. Here it is, the present perfect, have or has plus the past participle. We have regular past participles and irregular past participles. In the appendix, the first couple of pages has a list of the irregular past participles. So for instance, the verb write, the first form would be write, the simple past is wrote, and the past participle is written. So in the present perfect, we would be saying, I have written, you have written, he or she or it has written, and all the other forms are with have. So the majority of the forms are with have. It's just the third person singular that uses has. Now, why and when do we use the present perfect? Well, we use the present perfect for several reasons. I'll start out. The first one is to talk about something that began in the past and continues up until now. So, for instance, I have lived in New Jersey for 10 years. I have lived in New Jersey for 10 years. That means this living in New Jersey started in about 2004 and continues up until now and may continue into the future. Another example would be Lisa has worked at Raritan Valley for 6 months. She started working at Raritan Valley last fall or summer and still works there up until now. All right, so Lisa has worked, third person singular with has. So that's a couple of examples. So here's a card showing the two sentences that I read a moment ago. You'll notice in both of these sentences that I'm talking about a period of time from the past until the present, and I've used the preposition for. We use for with an amount of time or length of time. So 10 years is the amount of time in the first sentence. 6 months is the amount of time in the second sentence. If we're going to make a sentence in the present perfect, but we refer to a specific date or time, then we would use the preposition since. So I could change either of these sentences to refer to a specific date rather than an amount of time. So I could say, for instance, I have lived in New Jersey since 2004. Or Lisa has worked at Raritan Valley since August. Okay, both of those refer to specific dates, 2004 or August, and we use the preposition since. For is for an amount of time. So that's an important distinction to learn when you're making sentences with the present perfect, because we use since and for quite frequently. Just to give you another couple of examples, we could say soccer has been popular in South America for many years. Has been is the verb in the present perfect. That means soccer became popular many years ago and has continued to be popular since then up until the present. So soccer has been popular in South America for many years. Another sentence would be, soccer has been popular in the United States for only the last 25 to 30 years. Soccer has been popular in the United States for only the last 25 to 30 years. And here are those sentences. Another time when we use the present perfect is when we're describing something that took place at an undefined past time. Okay, an undefined past time. Not yesterday, not last month, but we don't say when something took place in the past. In that case, we use the present perfect. So I could say, I have been to Italy. I have been to Brazil. I'm not saying in either of those sentences when I went to Italy or when I went to Brazil. Therefore, we use the present perfect. Another example, she has met President Obama. She has met President Obama. Again, I'm not referring to any specific time, so I use the present perfect. If we had a specific time in the sentence, then it would be a simple past. So she met President Obama last year in Washington, D.C. Or I went to Brazil in 2005. So that makes all the difference. Having a specific time reference means that we use the simple past, and having no time reference, having an undefined past time, means that we use the present perfect. The present perfect is frequently used in conversation and in writing. If you pay attention, if you're reading the newspaper or magazines, you'll see the present perfect used quite often. To give you an example of a conversational use of the present perfect, I might ask someone, have you ever been to Los Angeles? Ever is commonly used when we ask questions in the present perfect. It means at any time in the past. Not a specific time, just any time in the past. Have you ever been to Los Angeles? Yes, I've been to Los Angeles twice. As in the previous examples I gave you, we don't have any mention of a specific time, so we use the present perfect. Yes, I've been to Los Angeles twice. So that's a common use of the present perfect. Similar to using ever, we might use never. For example, I've never tasted sushi. I've never tasted sushi. That means at no point in my life have I tasted sushi. So there are a number of indefinite adverbs of time that we use. Often, just, ever, never, and so on. So an example with just, I've just finished reading a wonderful book. I've just finished reading a wonderful book. We commonly use the present perfect when we talk about some activity that we've just finished or just completed. We also commonly use the present perfect with words like already, yet, and still. Already is used in a positive sentence to talk about something that has happened at an indefinite time. So, for example, someone might ask you a polite question, would you like to have lunch today? And you might reply, oh, I'm sorry, I've already eaten. I have already eaten. I should mention at this point that we commonly contract the pronoun or the noun with the have in the present perfect, and that may be difficult for some of you to hear, but it's important to realize that it's there. So I have already eaten is commonly said, I've already eaten. So again, that's a positive statement with already. Yet is used in a more negative sentence. So uh, you could ask somebody a similar question. Would you like to have lunch today? And the person might reply, oh yes, that would be great. I haven't eaten yet. That means that I haven't eaten up until this time. And we use still with the present perfect to also express something negative, but it also includes the the idea that you're surprised or unhappy about a situation. So someone might ask you, has your professor returned your exams yet? And you might reply, no, he still hasn't given us our exams back. So that still emphasizes that you're unhappy about the fact that you have not received your exam from the professor. So that's a very brief introduction to the present perfect. We'll go into more detail later. We can have examples, additional examples of the usage, and I can answer other questions that you have. But I'm going to take a minute to review the present perfect in comparison to the simple past. So I'll give you a few examples of that, and maybe it'll help clarify a little bit. So a use for the present perfect would be in a statement such as, Jim and Donna have worked together for the last 3 years. That means they started working together in 2011 and they continue to work together now. Okay, they have worked together for the last 3 years. As opposed to a sentence like, Jim and Donna worked together 3 years ago, which means that they worked together in 2011, but that working together ended at that time. It ended at that time. So that's a completed action, whereas the present perfect refers to an action that continues up until the present. So that's one example. And to give you another indefinite past example, I could say something like, I've never been to Denmark. That means at no point in my life have I been to the country of Denmark up until now. Or if I had a definite past example of having visited Denmark, I could say, I went to Denmark in 2012, or I visited Denmark in 2012. So there's the indefinite, I haven't been to Denmark, and the definite, I visited Denmark in 2012. A common mistake is to overuse the simple past. So a lot of students, when they're still learning English, use the simple past too much. And they might say something like, he never went to Los Angeles. But he, whoever he is, Juan or Victor, never went to Los Angeles. Sounds like he's no longer living, when in fact he may very well still be living. So if he is still living, the sentence should be, Victor has never been to Los Angeles, or Juan has never been to Los Angeles, not he never went. Another common usage of the present perfect is for an incomplete time period, and that incomplete time period could be today, this week, this month, this year. So if it's 10 a.m., 10 o'clock in the morning, I might say, I've had 2 cups of coffee so far today. I have had, that's the present perfect, 2 cups of coffee today. It's an incomplete time period because it's 10 a.m., 10 o'clock in the morning, and there are many hours left to the day. I may drink additional cups of coffee. So it's only at the end of the day that I could say, I had 4 cups of coffee today. But as I'm still in the middle of the day, I would use the present perfect. I have had 2 cups of coffee so far today. We'll have a lot more examples of that as we go along, but these videos are 15 minutes each, and I'm running out of time, so we'll pick up later on with more of this.